Hello, good day and welcome. I will be answering WASSCE 2020 Physics Past Question 12. The diagram above illustrates a beam of parallel rays from a distance O, incident on one side of a total reflecting prism. Which diagram does not represent the correct part of the beam when it emerges from the prism? A, W, B, X, C, Y, and D, Z. Like we can see that this is the illustration W, X, Y, and Z. Now each of this illustration is given what illustrates the how light is being reflected by a triangular prism, and this prism we call it a total reflecting prism. It's a total reflecting prism which is made up of right angled isosceles prisms. Right angled isosceles prism. So we call it a total reflecting prism, because when light passes from one side and hits another side, the light becomes it becomes reflected. Now the question says which diagram does not represent the correct part of the beam when it emerges from the prism. Now like we can see, reflection simply means the throwing off or bouncing back of light. That is the throwing off or bouncing back of light. Let's say for instance, if you have a reflecting surface like this, now once a light ray hits this surface, what happens? It bounces back, and that is reflection. Now if you look at illustration W, you see that the light was actually reflected in the correct order. Likewise X, you can see the ray of light as it travels from this side to the next side, it was reflected to this side, and from here it was reflected also, and you can see the direction point towards the direction of the reflection of the light, that is the incident ray and the reflected ray. Also CY, from O it was it passes and goes to the surface. Now because it is moving from this angle here, when it gets to this sides of the triangular prism, the light becomes refracted. Here now is refraction, and refraction means the change in direction of light when it passes two different medias of different densities. Now because the light is coming from air and hits the glass surface, it has to be to be refracted, so the refraction occur. Now as this refracted ray hits the other surface of this total reflecting prism, it gets reflected, that is, it bounces back, and as it reaches here also going to air, it becomes refracted. But if you look at illustration Z gives us something like this. We have something like this. Now initially the light hits this surface, like this. The light is coming from air to glass, definitely refraction must occur. Now as this light gets refracted, it will get to the other sides of this total reflecting prism. Now the light has to be reflected, which was illustrated. So this was the incident ray, the refracted ray, then reaching here it becomes reflected again. Now once this light comes to this other side of the triangular prism, it is supposed to be to be refracted again, because now it is moving from the denser medium to the less dense medium, which is from glass to air. So it is meant to be refracted. Let's take for instance, this is our normal ray. Now this light is supposed to be refracted somewhere like this, not upward, and that is why this illustration Z is actually wrong. But if you can look at illustration Y, you see that the light was actually refracted when it was moving from the glass to air because of the change in density. You can see it. This was the incident ray and this is the refracted ray. But for illustration Z is wrong. So the answer to this question is actually option D. It does not represent the correct part of the beam when it emerges from the prism. So B is the answer to this question. Thank you. Ensure to subscribe to the channel to get more of our videos and past questions.